Hey, it's Ray Steele. Hope you like this, and please hit the subscribe button. Appreciate it. We the Culture works by the 18 Art Collective. If you're not familiar with the 18 Art Collective, those are the 18 artists who came together to paint that incredible mural on Indiana Avenue a couple years ago that, frankly, I don't know, some of us wish was still there in some form or fashion. I know it lives on in other forms, but it was really cool to see. And Amiah Mims, one of the artists who helped make that happen, very talented artist. If you've not seen her work, but you can see it as part of this exhibit at Newfields. Amiah, how are you today?
I am great. How are you?
I am wonderful. So let's remind everybody who the 18 Art Collective is, first of all, and how all of that came together 2 years ago at a very low point in this country for a variety of reasons. Middle of the pandemic, violence happening involving Black people and police all across the country. And this collective came together and not just did the mural, but there's a whole lot that's grown out of that. But how did this first come together, and how did you become a part of it?
Yeah, so the 18 Art Collective is a collective of 18 individual artists who, as you mentioned, came together for the same cause, an activism call to put together this mural back in 2020. And once that mural kind of came together and we achieved that goal of completing it, of starting that conversation here in our city, we decided that it's not every day that you get a group of 18 artists with a variety of different personalities that actually click and mesh and work really well together. So we decided to go ahead and remain a collective and continue just that activism work in our country, in our city and country, if you will, and just continue that work here and continue those conversations through the arts. So that's kind of a little bit of background on what the collective does and how we came together. And then in terms of the mural itself and my participation in that mural, it was curated by Molly Jeffers and Alan Bacon, who are the co-founders of Gang Gang. And they got the group together. They reached out to a variety of artists here in the city and just asked if we wanted to be a part of this, moment in history. And it was an easy yes for me. And I'm sure if you asked any other members of the collective, they would also give you the same answer. Just being a part of that project was incredible. It was such a full moment of camaraderie and just being together with people you've never met before, all working for the same thing, all, putting our voices out there for the same cause was just a really special moment. And it's, something I'll cherish forever. So.
Molly Jeffers was the first person or she was the one who mentioned you to me to talk about this exhibit at Newfields. I could practically hear her screaming your name through the email. You know how Molly gets sometimes. It's incredible what they have done, and I'll say this. I've said this to their face, but I'll say it as much as I can. What Gang Gang has done, not, since the time of the mural, and even before then, when they first started coming together, and they've had two massive Butter art fairs now that you've been a part of that as well. But what they have done to enhance culture, and in my mind, and you can attest to this as an artist, how difficult it is to make a living as an artist. But they are giving these opportunities to artists like yourself and helping you make a living, doing what you want to do. And it's a really cool thing to see.
Yes, they are definitely very focused on, economic equity and trying to raise, that awareness for the artists and for our practices and just giving us the platforms that we need in order to be seen and for people to invest in our work and invest in those practices. So forever grateful over here to the work that they're doing because it is really important, especially in a artistic city like Indianapolis, one that's on the come up and one that is focusing to enhance and build that community here in this city.
And Gang Gang is curating this exhibit at Newfields as well, called We the Culture. The opening reception is this coming Thursday, and it will run for the next year at Newfields. A good chance to see your work and a piece of work that actually I saw at the Butter 2 Art Fair called Uncaged Souls. Tell me a little bit about this because a couple things jumped out at me. One, for those who haven't seen it, your drawing of the skeleton part of this was really, really dead on. And I don't, it looked like I saw a video of you doing this, by the way. And I don't, it looked like you were doing that freehand. And I don't know how accurate, how it was you got such an accuracy with your lines just doing that freehand. But also, you had the flowers growing out of it. You have a habit of having flowers grow out of stuff because you did that with your letter in the Black Lives Matter mural as well, which was a really cool effect. But tell me a little bit about that piece that folks can see at this Newfields exhibit.
Yeah, so that piece, as you mentioned, is called Uncaged Souls. It's a piece that I did last year for the inaugural Butter Art Fair here in Indianapolis. And it's a piece that I actually created a couple years back, just as a fun, little sketch of an idea that I had. And then once Butter came to be, I thought, this could be a really cool opportunity to recreate that piece in my current style, my more, I guess, in-depth style, if you will, just to recreate that piece and to see, how it translated in a newer style. So the background on that is that it was a combination. I'm very much influenced by music and poetry and lyrics and just kind of taking that form of art and adding a visual component to it. So that piece is actually inspired by Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Also kind of tied in with Nina Simone's Blackbird song as well. So I kind of took those two songs and wanted to create my representation or my interpretation, if you will, of what those two poems mean. And yeah, so I created the skeleton, which is kind of the human aspect, um, which touches on the point that Maya is trying to make about just being caged, the Black community being caged, being barred by society, also kind of having our own also like mental barriers as well. So just being caged by those things. There are two birds. One is kind of on the outside of the cage, and one is slightly still tucked on the inside of the rib cage. And that's kind of the hopeful part of that piece. Having the one on the outside looking back at the one still kind of on the inside and encouraging this bird to also take flight, as the birds represent humans and just how important it is to kind of lift each other up so that we can all soar and all be free. So that's kind of the message behind that. As you mentioned, there are some flowers in that piece, which are actually milkweeds that kind of represent and symbolize freedom. So once you get to look at it, you can kind of dive into all the symbolism that's in there because there's some little nuggets that are in there in terms of symbolism. But yeah, so that's kind of a rundown on that piece. And if you catch me while we're in Newfields, be sure to talk to me about it and I can give you the full rundown on that. But you have to show up. So
Got to show up to look at it. Yeah.
gotta show up.
So that's it's interesting. Cool that you mentioned Nina Simone as part of that as well. If anybody's not seen old film of Nina Simone perform, just find it somewhere. Most recently, what was the doc? Oh, Summer of Soul, the Questlove documentary on the Harlem Music Festival. She performed there. It's just incredible. So this is actually the second incarnation, though, of this piece. Then
Yeah, it is. And it's the first one. I actually see it right in the back here. The first one's it's just a different, it's just a different feel. So I would describe this newer one as more whimsical, maybe, if you will. Maybe a little macabre, but definitely more whimsical. But yes, a second version, but they are both very different in their feel. So yeah.
so you say you applied it to a style that you have adapted now. How has your style changed over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's actually is evolving every day. I'm very much in a time frame where I'm working on my craft, kind of shaping it to be a bit more solid, if you will. Not that I don't think I'll ever land on one specific thing. I'm sure it's probably going to be something that's ever evolving, ever shaping itself. But I am actively working on getting something a bit more solidified. But I feel like starting off, my work was very loose. I used to use mixed media, so I like a mixture of acrylic paint with charcoal, or having some kind of newspaper prints in the background. So I like to layer things a lot in the earlier days. And I feel like now my style is a lot brighter and a lot bolder in use of color. I like to work with the primary colors, so red, yellow, and blue, and I like to work with those to have that strong contrast and the strong boldness of those colors to, I guess, really tap into the boldness of the human form and the motions that we have. I enjoy painting hands and I guess zoomed in, intimately cropped in aspects of the human form, eyes, mouth, any of those places that you can get a lot of emotion from. But hands are a really important part to just like human body language and is a very universal part of language. So I really enjoy drawing hands and just the emotions that they can hold and that they conjure up. So I feel like a lot of my new pieces and my new style focus a lot more on the human form and bold and bright colors.
All right. Well, you get to see this piece, Uncaged Souls, at We the Culture at Newfields starting this Thursday. We'll have the link at WRTV.com where you can check that out and get tickets to go see these wonderful works from 18 incredible artists that already have meant so much to Indianapolis. And as they are still a collective, as Amiah said, they're going to hopefully continue to bless us for the foreseeable future with a lot of other stuff. I don't know what else do you have cooking right now?
As of right now, really everybody's focus was just to get this done and get those pieces and get everything together. But we do have some stuff that it's plugged in for next year. We're in that moment of trying to figure out what our next year is going to look like in that calendar. But we work with children and the youth here. We have a young artist program that we did for the first time this year that we're currently shaping for next year. So be on the lookout for that if you have children and you would like for them to learn and work with us and just learn little tidbits on how you can take your artistic talent and shape it to something that you can potentially turn into a career. So that's kind of a big program that we're putting a lot of effort into as of now. And then there's a couple of us who are working on individual projects and murals that are coming up. So we've got a couple of things in the works, but definitely this Newfields We the Culture exhibition was getting all of our attention as, we want it to be great and we want all of the visitors to enjoy it for what it is.
Go see it at Newfields. We the Culture. It's going to be there all year. And Amiah Mims, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck to you. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much.